Hey everyone, it's Luann and I'm here with a finished invitation and a tutorial on how I made my invitation. And I'm going to try to make this as quick as possible. This is my 6th take. I am not kidding you. I don't know what is going on with my webcam, and I don't know if it's because the videos are too long or what, but I am tired and I'm frustrated, and I think something out there just does not want me to have this tutorial up. Maybe it's because it's just that amazing. Haha, I'm just kidding. Anyway, hi Gracie! This tutorial is actually for you so that you can make your invitations for your little baby. Okay, so this is the invitation that I made, and this is the invitation that I had on a sneak peek video of my gorgeous stamps haul that I actually have defects and I haven't heard back from the company yet. And I had shown this uncompleted. This is a finished invitation. I love the way it came out. It's a dual shadow box invitation. Here's the outside and my inside. Look at how cute that is. I love the way it came out. It's for my kid's birthday, and I wanted my family and my friends to have a keepsake with their pictures right here and their age and what their birthday theme is. I just thought it was such a cute thing to do. I have spent hours and lots of sleepless nights with these invitations, but they are very well worth it. At least to me they are. I had a lot of fun doing them, and I think they came out really great. So these are the sides, the back, then my side hinge. And you think I'm kidding that this is my 6th tutorial. These are all of the shadow boxes that I already have made, with all of the other darn tutorials that are not working. So let's get started. You're going to use one 8.5 by 11 piece of paper. I'm going to trim it down to 5 inches. So you're going to have a 5" by 11" piece of cardstock. Keep this piece and mind the rest of the mess. It's from the previous tutorials. I did like 3 yesterday, and this is my 3rd today. And I swear, if this one doesn't work, I'm done. Okay. So you're going to cut this down to 5 by 5, and then your next piece is also going to be cut down. Well, you could cut it, actually I'm not going to cut it down to 5 by 5. You could cut it down to 5 by 5. If you're going to be making multiple shadow boxes, you would cut it down to 5 by 5, because this is what would actually be the frame and the inside of a different shadow box. Like for my invitations, what I did is I used purples and pinks and greens and blues. So when I cut the frame, the inside of the frame, the purple went into the inside of another shadow box, and the same for this side. So I was able to utilize every single piece of paper that I had. So I'm actually going to leave this alone for now, because what we're going to be doing with this invitation is a little bit different. So we're going to go from there. And then this piece here is going to be cut down to 1 3/4 inches. Like that. I put our trimmer to the side, and we're going to score these 2 panels. We're going to set up your paper this way, and you're going to score at 1/4 inch, at 1/2 inch, at 1 inch, and 1 1/4 inches. And you're going to do the same on the other side. So 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch, 1 inch, and 1 1/4. And then you're going to bust your trimmer back out. Okay, so you are going to, I'm actually stacking these 2 pieces together so that I can cut them at the same time. You're going to need 2 4" pieces. So I'm going to cut those. 2 4" pieces and 2 5" pieces. Okay, and this piece you're just going to toss, you don't need. Okay, so we have 2 5" 2 4". We're going to fold at the scores. And Gracie, you don't know because you just bought your scoreboard. When you score, the top of your paper are going to have little valleys. The indentation is called the valley. When you turn your paper over, these little bumps that you feel, those are the mountains. So this is how you initially scored your paper. When you fold, you're going to fold, haha. You're going to fold towards the mountain. So you're going to fold it towards the inside. If you fold it the other way, it'll break the paper, and if you're using the thick cardstock with like glitter or, you know, and it'll just crack or it'll break, and you want to avoid that. So just fold all of your pieces as such, or like so, all of your pieces like that. Okay. And your last 5-inch piece, which is probably what I should have said in the beginning, this piece, this 5-inch piece, you are going to punch a hole on the 1/4-inch space that is sandwiched in between your two 1/2-inch spaces, and you can see that right there. 1/2 inch, 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch. So on this piece, you're going to punch a hole here and up here. So I'm going to go ahead and do that right now. Turn it over and do the same thing on the other side. Okay, so before you fold this, you're going to have a piece of paper that measures 7 inches by 3/4 inches. And I don't have any other scrap paper that is long enough, so I'm just going to use this piece right here. Okay, so this is your 3/4 inch paper, and it's going to be 3/4 inches by 7 inches, so I'm just going to cut that down there. And when you have your paper lengthways this way, you're going to score at 1 inch and at 6 inches. Then you're going to turn this long ways this way, and you're going to score at 1/4 of an inch, and then you're going to score at 1/2 inch. And you're going to fold your score lines, all of them. And then you're going to open it up, and on the 2 score lines that you did on the sides, you're going to fold those in, and then you're going to trim the corners up to the score line. And I'll show you in a second what it looks like. But you're folding the paper on the score line, and then you're cutting all the way up to the score line. So you should have a strip that looks like this. Like that. Okay? So this piece, you're going to glue to this piece. So this is where we now fold our panel here. Okay? Alrighty. So this is where our holes are, and that is where this piece is going to be glued on. So let's put some glue on this piece here. Actually, I folded these. I'm going to fold it so that my writing is on the inside. I used it for. What is going on? Okay. My computer froze, and I don't know where it froze, so I hope it got everything I just said. Anyway, so we're now going to glue this piece to this piece, and we're pretty much going to cover up the holes. So let's put some wet glue on here, and I'm only doing it on the 5-inch piece, not the side flaps. So you're going to glue that down. See my holes? You're going to line it up. You're going to line up the score lines, and these little flaps, make sure that they're where they need to be. Okay, so this is what you will end up with. Okay, so now from the inside, you're going to punch out the holes again. And you're just going to use your previous holes as a guide. Okay, so there you have it. You now have your holes. Now this piece of paper that you covered this craft colored paper with, this is going to be the paper that you're going to be covering all of your sides with. So make sure that you use a paper that you intend to use to cover all of your sides, okay? So now the next step is we're going to attach ribbon, because this is going to be a shadow box that hangs. And typically I would add the ribbon, I would sandwich the ribbon, and I'll go over that in a second. I would sandwich the ribbon between the back panel and these hinges, but we're actually creating a pocket within this particular shadow box. So this is why I'm doing it this way. So you run your ribbon through the inside of one of your holes and then the other hole, like that, and then just tie a knot. You don't want to tape the ribbon to the inside of the panel, because if you pull on the ribbon hard enough, the ribbon will just pop out, and you want to avoid that. So just tie a knot so that it doesn't, so you have that stability. So this is going to be your hanging mechanism right here. And I do think that you should use a ribbon that's 3/4 of an inch or maybe an inch to give it that extra fluff. It'll make it look really cute, trust me. Okay, so now we're going to close this up like we did the others. Actually we haven't done that to the others. So let me actually close these other ones first. So on the 1/4 inch flap here, add glue, and you're going to do this to all of them. Add glue, kind of fold it over, and then fold this piece over, line it up, and then seal. Like that. And what you are creating are these little tubular, rectangular tubes. Okay? So do that to all of them. Oh my gosh, and I hope that video didn't freeze and omit something. I hope not, because I really am not interested in recording this a 7th time. Okay, so there is that piece, your second piece. And again, you're just going to do the same thing to all of them. And the glue that I'm using is Eileen's Fast Grab Tacky Glue. I love this glue. You don't need to use a lot of it, and it tends to not warp the paper because it's thick, it's not liquidy, and it tends to dry fairly quickly. Excuse me. And now this very complicated piece. Glue that down. Make sure your ribbon is not in the way. Okay, like that, and there you have it. So now we are ready to glue down our pieces to our 5x5 piece, and I'm actually going to glue it down on another contrasting piece of paper so that you can see what I'm doing. Yeah, I'm just making a massive mess in here. Yay. Okay, so this is my 5x5 piece. Actually, before we glue this down, actually this is perfect, we're creating a pocket, so you do need another 5x5 piece that you're going to glue and kind of create a pocket, like that. Now this piece is actually not going to be 5x5, it's going to be 5 inches by 4 3/4. So we're going to cut this down to, is it already 5 inches? Yes, it's already 5 inches by 4 3/4. And the reason why we're cutting it down 4 3/4 is because we don't want to add additional depth to the sides for our hinges when we create our hinges. So it's going to be glued like that with a little bit of border on the sides, not the top and the bottom. So a little bit of glue, wet glue. You do not want to use any ATG or any glue that will stay sticky, because you will be inserting a tag in here, and if it's sticky, the tag is going to get stuck, and you don't want that. Okay, so line that up. I'm actually doing it on a rotated. Okay, so there we go. These are your sides right there, top, bottom. Your top is open, okay? So we've now created a pocket right there. And here are the sides. So we're going to glue this very intricate piece on the top, the other 5-inch piece on the bottom, and the 4-inch pieces will go on the sides, but we're going to glue these pieces first. So you're going to add glue to the 1/2-inch side of your little tube here. I'm just going to put a little bit of ATG. You can use wet glue to help you, which will give you some room in case you put this crooked. I'm just going to use ATG for time. So you're going to line that up at the top, both sides, and make sure it's lined up and you're not going over. It has to be like really lined up together, because if you go over, that's going to create a problem when you wrap your pieces together. Okay, so that is done, and now we're going to glue the bottom, my other 5-inch piece. Okay, so that's your 5-inch piece, and when you glue your piece down, I don't know if you can tell, there's a little tiny bit of a lip, so you're gluing this piece just a tiny, like a hairline on the inside of the paper, so you're not right on the edge, you're like a little tiny bit on the inside, like a smidge, like a hair. You can feel it. You can feel the bottom piece right there. Like, it's just a little bit. It's barely noticeable. And then before you glue down your 4-inch pieces, this is what I like to do. I will put my bottom or my top, I'll line it up next to a 90-degree corner here, and I will I'll just hold this up and I'll put my 4-inch pieces in between those two pieces. And if it doesn't fit, if it's not snug, or if I'm having to force it in, this is too big and you need to trim it down. If you do not trim it down, this is what will happen. You are pushing this piece out to make your 4-inch piece fit, and so when you cut your frame, you have now actually made this, you can tell right here, you've made it wider than 5 inches. So you need to trim this down to keep this at 5 inches, and you can tell that I'm quite a bit over. I don't even know how that happened. Oh, I do, because we went in a little hair. Okay, so you trim it down, and if you trim down a little bit too much, that's okay. Okay, now that's good. So I'm going to grab my other 4-inch piece. I have all these extra hinges that I have from my other videos. Seriously, I've had such a hard time with this video. Alrighty, so perfect. So we still have room to squeeze this together, and it's still at 5 inches. Don't forget, we're going to be cutting our frame at 5 by 5, so we don't want to make it wider, because that means we would have to cut our paper bigger to fit the frame, to cover up our base frame here. And I didn't mention, but the dimensions of this shadow box is 5 by 5. The inside is 4 by 4, and this is a 1/2 inch frame there. Depth is 1/4 of an inch. So now we're going to glue these pieces down, and I'm just going to use wet glue for these. I mean, you can use whatever, but I'm just going to use wet glue for now. And again, you're going to be gluing it just a hair on the inside, like a tiny, 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 tiny smidge. See, like that. That's like a teeny, teeny bit. I mean, if you go like that, you can see a lot of it, but it's really just a tiny bit. Alrighty, so it moved. Okay, so there we go. Okay, so now we're going to do the other side. And if I'm going too quick, I'm sorry. I'm very, very sorry. But this is, again, like I said, my 6th take, and it's just been very frustrating. So I can't even talk, because I actually have my kid's birthday that I need to finish, and recording this 6 times is just. And each time it was 45 minutes, because I was actually including another way of doing this, but I decided to just leave that out because it was way too complicated and it wasn't coming out the way that I wanted it to. Okay, so now your pieces are attached, and your frame looks like this. So now what we're going to do is we are going to fold over these little panels like that, and then we're going to fold the sides over to the side of the shadow boxes. So we're going to pretty much hug the shadow box like that with these little panels, and that is going to seal up these little holes and give us a nice clean corner. Like, look at how nice that corner looks. Nice and clean and without any problems. It's perfect. Oh, I put glue in the center. You don't need glue in the center. So you're going to sandwich that together and make sure that you're pushing this piece with this piece together like that, so that again, you're not making it wider than 5 inches. And I, while this is gluing, I actually use chipboard to make my invitations or my shadow boxes. So when I went to do my frame and do my 1/4 inch strips for the outside, because for the outside I used 1/4 inch strips, I didn't actually wrap the paper around this way. I decided to do that after I made my invitations because I didn't want to be able to see the chipboard or the cardstock. But I used chipboard, and because I used chipboard, I ended up painting the inside so that I wouldn't have to run 1/4 inch strips of paper on the inside either. And I was able to do that with the chipboard. You won't be able to do that with this type of paper if it's regular craft paper or just regular paper, because it'll warp. If you use paint, liquid on paper, it's just going to warp it. And it's not going to work with this type of cardstock. It will work with chipboard though. Okay, so now we're going to glue our other side. And you can tell my 4-inch piece is kind of popping out a little bit. Just push it back in when you glue down your piece, because again, you want to make sure that it's perfectly 5 by 5 and not any wider. Okay. There you go, and I just love the way the corners look. Like, they're clean corners and the holes are covered up. So that's it right there. And now we're going to do the same thing we did here, we're going to do over here, but without the holes, obviously. And I have one more piece of paper. It's not 3/4 of an inch, but I'm just going to pretend it's 3/4 of an inch. And score at 1/4 inch and then at 1/2 inch. To trim it down a little bit. For the purpose of the video, I'm not going to cut this one, only because I don't want it to take too much time. Alrighty, so, and actually cut it shorter than 7 inches. Alright, so score at 1 inch, and then again at 6 inches. I'm going to fold my insides first, and then cut, and then the other side, cut. So you end up with something that looks like that. And then you score the rest of your paper. And then we attach to the bottom. So attach that to the bottom. Make sure that you align it or line it up. You want to make sure that these flaps fold down and your piece is perfectly lined up and centered. And then fold it over to fold down your sides. You can even flatten it up to secure it, since the side isn't attached yet. Okay. So we have that. You could use your ATG for this, but once you stick down your panels, you're not going to have much room to move it around in case you didn't place it properly. So that's why I like using the wet glue. Okay, so now we're going to attach our side panels. And again, don't forget to push these two pieces together like that, and you push this piece in or out if need be, depending on where your piece is leaning or headed towards. Again, you want to make sure that your shadow box stays at 5 by 5, because if it ends up being bigger than 5 by 5, you'll have to make adjustments for your frame. Okay, so that is that piece, and now we're going to do the other side. Fold it over towards the front and the back, and press everything together, squeeze everything together so that you're not making your box bigger than it should be. Okay, so I think that is it for the top and bottom. Yeah. And then here we have 5 inches. It's a little bit wider than 5 inches, just a little bit. Okay. So now we just cover up the sides, and basically we're doing the same thing that we did on the top and bottom, but without these little side pieces. We're just going to cut a 5 by 3/4 of an inch strip to do the outsides. And I'm just going to do that with a different color. I think this is, yeah, this is 5 inches. So I'm going to cut this to 3/4 of an inch. And then another one at 3/4 of an inch. And I'm measuring from the outside. Okay, so score at 1/4 inch, score at 1/2 inch. So every 1/4 inch you're scoring. Score at 1/4 inch, and then again at 1/2 inch. And for these, you're also going to cut the corners. So you fold them. If you're using chipboard, and I know Gracie you're going to be using chipboard, you might have to score these a little bit wider because the chipboard is going to be thicker, and you might not be able to wrap this around perfectly. So you're cutting the corners on these from the score line out in an angle, and I will show you that in a second. But that is what it looks like, because you're cutting at an angle from the score line out. Same thing with this one. Okay, it looks like that. And fold your pieces over, make sure all of your score lines are folded. And I think this may have actually been just under 5 inches. So this piece is what's going to cover this piece here, like that. Like that. And I'm just looking at this, and I think this is actually going to give it more, it's going to make it a little bit wider, but we'll see that in a second. I mean, if we need to make adjustments to the frame, we can do that. Okay, I'm going to use ATG on the other side so that it'll glue quickly. Okay, so that is this piece. Stay glued. Okay, so now the other side. Actually, I'll just use the wet glue anyway. Whoa. Okay. It's lined up. Okay, so we have that done, and that's pretty much it. Like, you're done with the shadow box. Now you have to do the frame. You have to do the frame, and then you have to cover the back side, and that's pretty much it. Now what you can do now is the extra 5 by 5 piece that you will have once you cut up all your paper, you can just place it on top of your shadow box to make sure it will cover everything that it needs to cover, and it looks like it will. And then just cut it out. And I think I mentioned that I painted mine. Yeah, I did, with chipboard. Okay, so to cut out your frame, I know, Gracie, you're going to use a silhouette. so you don't have to worry about that. But when you do cut one from the silhouette, when you do the print and cut, just do one and test it out on the shadow box. If you need to make it bigger, you can just from the corner just drag it out a smidge and then try it from that point again, because you don't want to make it too large and have to readjust if you make it too big or too small. Okay, so this is the 5 by 5 inch piece that you're going to cut the frame out of, for anybody else who has to do it manually. Now my cutter has a ruler on the side, and I've rubbed off, yeah, my little the lines have started to rub off, so I can't see where my 1/2 inch, actually from this piece here I have no lines, so I can't tell where my 1/2 inch marks are. I can eyeball it, but I don't, because I don't want to, you know, go over. So what I do is I measure from the outside ruler here, and I go out to 1/2 inch plus a 1/16 of an inch. So it's a 1/2 inch plus a 1/16, and then I cut from where I think the 1/2 inch would start, or just below that, and to the bottom, before where I think the 1/2 inch would be from the bottom, and then I rotate and do the same thing, 1/2 inch plus a 1/16 of an inch. And since I've already cut 1/2 inch there, I know that I can line my blade up with that cut line. Go down, and so again 1/2 inch plus a 1/16, and the measurement from this side is 4 inches, 1, 2, 3, it's 4 inches with 7/16 of an inch. So it's just 1/16 of an inch below 4.5. So it's 4.5 inches minus a 1/16 of an inch. That, and then my last cut right there. I'm so tired. I cannot wait to go to bed. Okay. So now we're just going to finish up these cut lines to cut up our frame. And I think I didn't go over the actual shadow box, but this shadow box that Gracie is doing is going to be a obviously a shadow box that you can hang. Ta-da! It's a shadow box that you can hang, but it has a pocket, and I didn't go over that. It has a pocket that will hold the party information. So here is, let's say this has all the party information, and it's going to go into that pocket right there. Look, you don't see it. Look at how amazing this is. Oh my god. I love this idea. She's probably going to round the corners here, and she's going to attach a bow for sure, so you can pull it out and admire, you know, her fantastic artwork. And, you know, she's going to have a picture of a little girl and a little Minnie Mouse theme going on. And once you have your invitation, actually my ribbon's too long, but you can make it smaller. But you can hang it on the wall. You can, I just love this idea. I love this idea, and I love this idea. They're two spectacular and new ways to create invitations or cards, because I know people out there do the shadow box cards. I don't think they do these very much. I think they do the ones that lay flat for mailing, but I really love the way these came out. Alright, so here's my frame, and then here's the inside of my frame. Now the inside of your frame, if you're making more than one shadow box, you can use on a different shadow box that you've made and have that be the center. And because I made 60 shadow boxes to make 30 invitations, so I used different greens, blues, pinks, and purples, so I was able to mix and match my insides, or the 4-inch pieces on the frame, so that I was able to utilize every inch of paper that I cut, except for these strips and the little teeny tiny square strips that I cut after I scored my paper for my little hinges. So my frame that will fit on perfectly on top of my shadow box, like that. I used actually ATG to do mine, but I was very careful in doing that, because I know that once you attach it down you have no room to fix it. But how I did it was I put my ATG on this piece only if it's chipboard, because if you try putting ATG on this, it's too weak, so you'll push it through. So put your ATG on this piece, on your frame piece, if that's what you're going to be using. But I just put my fingers on each corner and then put them in the corner of the shadow box, and with my index and thumb I pinched the corners of the actual shadow box and I just lined it up. I lined it up and then I pressed as I did that. I mean, I'm using wet glue now so it's easier, but when I was doing ATG, that's how I did it. So this is it, and I'm trying to figure, here I have this green piece from another one that I cut. That is too, what is wrong with this piece? Okay, there we go. So there's a shadow box. This is so cute, and if you're using craft paper and you can see the inside, I mean, that's fine. Or you can cut 1/4 inch strips, 1/4 inch by 4 inches, and just glue it on there. It's too much work, and that's why I decided to paint it. But again, I use a chipboard. So here is your finished shadow box, and the back you just need to cut a 5 by 5 piece to cover this up. So there it is. I hope you guys enjoy the tutorial. I hope you find it useful. If you guys have any ideas on how to perfect this shadow box, please let me know. I'm always looking for an easier, more efficient way of creating things. I would rather make a shadow box than go and buy one, because if I have to go and buy one, I'm very limited to the sizes that are there and the availability. So again, I'm open to suggestions if you have them. Thank you guys so much for watching, and Gracie, good luck to you, and I'm there to help if you need it, and if you have questions, I'm right there to answer them if you have them, or anybody else for that matter. So again, thanks for watching, and I hope I'm able to stop this video and upload it, because if not, that's it. no shadow box video. So again, for like the 4th time, thanks for watching, and happy crafting.